Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. It is 5:30 PM, and I will now call this meeting to order. All right. I will pass it over to first I will note attendance for a quorum. We have Director Holmstrom online, and then I do believe that Director Navarro and Director Carney are not able to join us this evening. And I'll pass it over to our General Manager for our safety minute.
Great, thank you. So for the month of May, it is both Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month and National Bike Safety Month. And at the district, we recognize that everyone deserves to feel safe on the road, especially the most vulnerable users like motorcyclists and bicyclists. While bike riders are encouraged to follow the rules of the road, drivers also have a key role to create in playing a safer environment. This month, we're encouraging all motorists to slow down, stay alert, avoid distractions, check mirrors and blind spots carefully, and allow plenty of space when passing riders. Even a moment of extra caution can prevent a serious crash. Together, we can make our streets safer for everyone who shares them, not just this month, but every day of the year. And remember, one of the easiest ways to contribute to a safer, more sustainable transportation system is to let the professionals do the driving and take the bus. That concludes my safety message.
Thank you very much. I feel like at some point, since, we usually close with let the professionals do the driving, we should all kind of say in a chorus, like a countdown, 1, 2, 3, say, let the professionals drive the bus. No? Okay.
I love that.
Okay, see, I have one vote of confidence here. Okay, do we have any announcements or changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay, thank you. And that'll move us right into our presentation, starting off with our Dolly Parton Imagination Library Project. General Manager? No?
Yeah,
Or
so we'd like to ask our presenters to please come forward, introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
For the record, my name is Jim Shupke,
And for the record, my name is Lisa Harnish.
and we want to thank you so much for letting us speak to you tonight about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. I retired as the State Librarian of Oregon in 2011, and I've done that job for 20 years, and I really wanted to find some good things to do coming out of that experience. That still had to do with kids and literacy. And one of the things I've just been privileged to do is to work as a volunteer with the Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub, which Lisa directs, on the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And I tried for years to find somebody to sponsor it here in Salem. And Lisa stepped up, and I was so pleased, and I jumped on the bandwagon, and we started raising some money, and our kickoff was in June of 2022. And we only had enough money to do 4 zip codes back then, and they were Falls City, Kaiser, Independence, and 97301 here in Salem. So we used to have to, when we were signing people up, we'd have to ask, are you in 97301? But we don't have to do that anymore because we have the whole state. We have Marion and Polk counties in, we achieved that, and now we have the whole state in, and we're so excited. And we've been so successful, having just started out with those 4 zip codes. Now we have 19 in Marion and Polk County. As of today, we serve 7,816 children. And if you don't know, the way it works is that parents sign up their children 0 to 5 for this program. Their children get a book every month until they turn 5 years old. And it's just the best thing. They get mail. That's a cool thing. Kids love to get mail. Some kids have never gotten mail until they get mail. It also changes the parent behavior because parents who have never read to their children start reading to their children. When a book comes in the mail, that book has to get read. So it really changes parent behavior. It puts books in the home. And research has shown that it's just so successful in raising, 3rd grade reading scores and other important things like we're trying to achieve. So what we're asking for, why we're here, is that we would love a partnership with Cherriots to do what other communities have done around the country, to use the bus as a way to increase participation in our project. And they use bus wraps, and they use posters in the bus. They use QR codes, so people can just sign up their kids when the bus is at a red light. You know, they can pull out their phone and grab that QR code and sign up their kids, or when they're having a long bus ride, you know, they can do that. So we're not asking for advertising. Ian told me, we don't advertise. I got that. We're asking for a partnership, and we just think it'd be a terrific partnership. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to tell you more about that.
Yes, again, for the record, my name is Lisa Harnish, and it is an honor and pleasure to be here. And I come kind of wearing two different hats when I think about this partnership that we'd like to propose for you. One is the Executive Director for the Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub, where we work to help coordinate and align services to help to support children in being more ready for kindergarten. Literacy is probably one of our top priorities in our work, and we've been investing a lot in literacy, in particular this last year. I also come with a second hat, and as a board member for the Salem-Keizer School District, and I think we all know as a community just how sad our literacy scores are, particularly in third grade. Research shows that the third grade literacy is an indicator of high school graduation. We also know that kindergarten readiness is also an indicator of third grade literacy. And so we're doing everything that we can from an early learning perspective to help to change that trajectory. And the Dolly Parton Imagination Library has been a big part of that. It's been exciting to see the community really step up and really embrace this program, to think that we are in every zip code in Marion and Polk counties, and also that we have 7,816 children enrolled in the program exceeds all of my wildest dreams when we started this program in 22. And so that tells me a couple of things. One is the community is really interested, parents are excited about it, and frankly, kids are excited about it. And when kids get to school, it's exciting to see them know and understand books and even have some common books that they share. So we are coming today as partners, as community partners, and knowing how Cherriots is just an integral part of our community and serves so many families. And as an early learning hub, as a Cherriots system, we're hoping to build that partnership to help make this program more available to families. Because while we're proud of 7,816 children, we know that it can be that many more and then some. So our desire is to work with you to help create a wrap, as Jim mentioned, also some inside so that people know how to sign up. This is not advertising for the hub at all. This really is about literacy and helping families know about this program. What we also know here in Central and in Keizer specifically, for whatever reason, our numbers are declining a little bit, and also thinking about what Cherriots' role could be in those communities in particular, having the buses going around would be ideal. As an early learning hub director, I have funds to help to support and offset the costs of the wraps themselves. I'm not coming before you knowing how much that costs, but we do have some funds that can help contribute toward that. We've also been in conversation with the Dollywood Foundation, who would like to be involved in the developing of the design. As you can imagine, Dolly has a few things to say when it comes to her image and her branding. So we adhere to that, to its strictest form. So what you have on the screen and in your packet is a sample of what another community did. So as you can see, it is, just wrapping, and it's just talking about books. And of course, we'd like to have QR code and that kind of thing to kind of draw that attention. But I think in closing, really this would love to develop that partnership with Cherriots so that we can, again, together as a community, help to reinforce the importance of literacy and the love and joy of reading. And we'd be happy to take any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for reaching out and asking us to partner on this. Before I get to questions, because I'm sure that we've got some from our board members, I will say that we for sure can commit to having the header cards inside of the bus. The conversation around wrapping the bus is a little bit more up in the air, just because we've recently, yes, as Ian mentioned, we've transitioned from doing advertisements to wrapping our buses specifically for Heritage Months and trying to do our campaign that we call Creating Community Connections. And that is usually led by our DEI subcommittee, which is comprised of Director Laura Midkiff, myself, and Director Duncan being the chair. So I think it would just be like a little bit of a discussion on that. And I will note for any concerned parties that we won't cover the windows. We know that that's not that's not popular with our writers. Folks like
this already.
I think that bus you see there might have been in Alabama, where it gets really hot. People
that makes
love
sense.
to have their
Love to have
windows
windows
covered.
Yeah, here people like to be able to see the beauty that is Oregon.
Exactly. Totally get it.
Yeah,
Totally
so,
get it.
but I think we
would
could,
certainly work with any specifications. And I would just say, as part of literacy, it's all about community and helping to bring that forward. So love to engage with you on that.
absolutely. So with that being said, any questions? Director Laura Midkiff?
Thank you, Madam President. I do not have a question, but I have a comment.
I asked for a question specifically.
And I was regarding that specifically. I wanted to thank you, Mr. Shepke, for a storied career to this state and to this community. You've touched a lot of folks in state government. My mother spent 35 years in state government, and I don't know if you ever met, but she speaks of you often, and for your integrity to the state. So thank you for your service. And we've talked a lot about Alan and Maria and I just got back from D.C. And I don't know how many times I said, make community connections over and over again. And in particular, your efforts to save the city library, I think, deserve special and public recognition, evidence especially with the victories of last week. And so thank you for your service to the Salem Kaiser community. And I'm in full support of. Yes, please give Mr. Shepke a round of applause. And I'd love to see something come of this partnership, as you mentioned. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Director Davidson?
I also don't have a question. Is that all right, Madam President?
Thank you for asking permission, yes.
I love this. This is wonderful. Very excited at this opportunity to partner. I do just want to maybe note for the record that I think this fully falls within our mission as an organization, which, as Director Laura Midkiff just mentioned, is creating community connections. I think one of the strengths that Cherriots as an organization can provide is to find those points where we can partner with other organizations that still advance our mission. And this, along with the youth bus pass, is another example of where we can increase graduation rates while still focusing on as our mission of creating community connections for the community. So thank you very much. Very excited to hop on a bus that happens to have Dolly Parton's face on it.
Love it.
So thank you.
I mean, who doesn't? Dolly?
Right. I know.
Director Duncan?
Permission to comment.
Go ahead.
As Director Hinojosa Presi noted, I am the chair of the DEI committee, and we've been doing this with the different buses, and it came about because somebody asked for a Pride bus, and that's how things started. And then the program expanded because then the community said, well, what about more? And we said, what about more? And so I think that programs start because somebody asks. We might need to kind of chat about the expansion of this, but I agree that it probably falls within the purview of creating community connections. But as we redefine that, we might need to write some things down so that we can continue to treat the rest of the community equitably, because that's a big priority for us. But I'm excited to have a conversation about this and figure out what the best foot forward is, because this program sounds fantastic. I have heard of it before today. I didn't know we were enrolled, so I mean, maybe that goes to show how it's needed to spread the word. So anyway, thank you for bringing this to us.
You're so welcome.
Well, and I mean, starting off in 2022 was definitely like, it's fairly newer. And I was telling Jim a little bit before we started this meeting that my daughter's 7 now, and since like we weren't in one of those zip codes previously, like I had this whole workaround where my mom applied for it and she would mail me the books. So
These are things we cannot know.
yeah, you're right. I probably, yeah, Dolly should not know that I found a workaround to her program. But it was also just I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure my kid could read, and who
You might not be the first.
yeah, who doesn't want to have like a book a month for their child?
So great.
And they have such great classics. Like I do want to note, like, you know, we got some of these little bookmarks, and it's got Dolly reading my favorite, The Little Engine That Could.
Yep, that's the first book that everybody gets, no matter when they start that book. That's the
That's
first.
Dolly's favorite book.
Yep.
Well, I have something in common with Dolly. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to add a couple things if I could.
Go ahead.
I noticed you do months, like Black History Month. Just so you know, September is National Literacy Month.
Oh, there we go.
Wink, wink. And also, I want to comment too that Governor Kotek loves this program. We had a reception in her office. We have statewide state matching funds now for this. And we had a great celebration in her office when that happened. Dolly made a special video and sent it to us to play, where at the end she said, "Oregon, I'll always love you." That was terrific. So the governor is a huge fan, just so you know. And we're told, well, two things. Because we're now statewide, we're going to get a new option so that families can sign up for all bilingual books. Spanish-speaking families can get all bilingual books. Now,
Everybody can get
now they get a few. But this is an option that we're going to get in,
Yep,
starting in
June
the
1st.
summer, June
Yep,
1st.
June 1st.
So we're so excited about that. And another thing we get for being statewide is Dolly's going to come, we're told. Not this year, but next year.
And ride our bus.
Well,
She- you know, if she-
it's wrapped.
You know, if she comes, she'll probably want to meet the governor. The governor will probably
And-
be here in
and I
Salem.
think they might want to take a
So
ride.
connect the dots. It could be fabulous. So just something to think about.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, no pressure.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Well, y'all are welcome, more than welcome to stay, or you can also head out. I was joking earlier with Lisa that now she gets to see me chair other meetings. Okay, so that brings us to our next item.
You have my agenda.
Oh, I have your agenda. There you go.
Okay. Can I ask Kyle, our Chief Employee and Labor Relations Officer, to make some opening remarks and introductions?
Thank you so much. We are really excited to have a campaign initiative put together in partnership with community to try to mitigate some of the displeasure that is coming with paid parking coming to downtown Salem. So in order to build better community connections and serve our communities to the best of our abilities, I am going to invite coordinators Hanson and Hagedorn to present to you our Rethink Your Commute campaign.
Oh, thank you very much. I think I recognize you from our barbershop video.
Very likely.
Good evening, and thank you, President Host Pressy and other members of the board. As Director Rose, or Chief Rose mentioned, we're here to present the Rethink Your Commute campaign. And as she mentioned, that free on-street parking in Salem will be going away effective July 10th. So for us, though, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to promote alternative transportation options besides a single occupancy vehicle when coming, driving, parking downtown. More importantly, though, it's a perfect opportunity to partner with the City of Salem and strengthen relationships with our community, local businesses, specifically those that are downtown. So our objective with this campaign is to get people to rethink their commute and consider Cherriots. And by doing so, help them to save time and money, and while riding the bus, be happy with their decision to do so.
Could you get a little bit closer to the mic?
So this evening, we're going to be discussing how we're partnering with the city and joining their existing communication efforts. We'll share some of our print materials that we've prepared and we'll be distributing. We'll discuss our internal communications plan, as well as sneak peek at our social media campaign. We'll also provide some key timeline milestones. And then lastly, probably wondering how we'll measure success. We'll also cover that as well. Okay. So we've been working with the City of Salem's communications team for a little while now, and the collaboration to share information for those who will be affected by this coming change, because they understand and we understand that we are a logical alternative to driving a single occupancy vehicle. And so diving into how we actually will partner with the city has created beepbeepsalem.com. It's a project page on their website. This is where they'll be directing the community to get more information about the paid parking program. So things like their timeline, FAQs, survey data, etc. will all be living on this project page. So as you're probably aware, there's a number of Cherriots bus stops, including our downtown transit center, within the downtown corridor, and now in or close to the paid on-street parking zone. And the city understands, because of this, that info about those bus stops within that paid parking zone could be important to the community. So they've actually agreed to and already included or updated their parking map to show our bus stop locations as well as the transit center. And that really highlights transit as an alternative when you're looking at their map. I think you could also argue that employees who work downtown Salem are one of the groups that could be most likely impacted by this change. So sorry, no more parking spot shuffle. And I think it's also important to note with that the free parking garages in downtown are really for visitors and retail customers. Employees who work downtown will not be able to park there without paying for a parking permit. So because they also recognize that, the importance of that, they have already updated and included a link to our Group Pass program page in their FAQ section, which is housed on their website. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Group Pass program and how we'll be promoting that further with this campaign in just a minute. Also, Cherriots has a number of free park and ride locations throughout Salem and Kaiser. And that's also potentially an attractive option for people, especially coming from outside of the city. So we'll be working with the city to see where on their website that could also be included as a link to our park and ride map, because I feel like that is a very valuable piece of information for people. Additionally, besides the project page, the city has a plan to go door to door in the downtown corridor, delivering materials packets with information about the coming change. And They've agreed to include materials that we're providing in those packets that will be going around. I think you all should have copies, physical copies in your packets. But as you see on the screen, there's an English version. There will also be Spanish versions provided. And the Rethink Your Commute bifold brochure provides information that someone new to transit might wonder. So questions that would be common for somebody. And as we created this, we really put ourselves in the shoes of somebody who hasn't used transit before. What things might they like to know? So we already talked about bus stop locations downtown. We've included a map with those. Also, park and ride locations. Talked about, there's information about the fares, so what it costs to ride the bus, as well as all the different fare payment options. General service hours, so basically the span of when the buses run. And then for somebody who's never in the bus, there might be some hesitancy if you're not familiar. When do I pull the cord, or what's the process when I board the bus? So we have a how to ride tip section on our website, URL for that information. And if somebody still isn't comfortable with it, maybe they want some additional help, we have a travel training program, which is free, that we're promoting in this brochure. And then lastly, we love the bus, but we also realize there's other ways besides the bus and a single occupancy vehicle to ground. So we have information about a transportation options program, so carpools, biking, walking, and just all the other ways that we promote getting around. Inside of the bifold brochure, there should be an insert. One side of it, again, promotes the Group Pass program, which I mentioned. It's a great program for employers, a benefit for employers and employees. And for this, during the time that this campaign is launching, we're offering a special try free for 3 days. So essentially, anyone interested, an employee interested, can download the UMO app. They can get set up with a free 3-day pass to try transit, which we know can be a barrier for some people. So we're trying to encourage people to just give it a try. Then maybe they can be an advocate for us with their employer if they decide they like it. On the reverse of that insert is more information about the UMO app, our electronic fare payment system, with links to download the app. So in addition to these printed materials that will be going door to door, the city has also offered to let us post information in their customer service center at City Hall. So we will include the bifold brochure in the insert, as well as the regional and local system maps, the foldable version, to have on display there. So since we're providing all this information, the city's agreed to work with us. We also want to make sure that their customer service staff has answers to questions that they likely might get as they feel, concerns from community members. So we'll be providing them with also talking points. So as they get phone calls, they have some additional information, resources to point people to. Now, we're providing their customer service staff information. It's also important we provide our customer service staff information, because likely our customer service staff will get questions from the community about the paid parking program. So we've developed an internal communications plan, which will include talking points for our frontline staff with resources, basic information about paid parking to address any questions they might receive. We'll provide slides in our operator break rooms with information, URLs and links. We'll also put an article in the Pulse, which is our internal newsletter, and we'll post an article on Cherriots.org in our news section. And every one of these pieces of information will also include links back to the city's resources for additional detail. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Brian. He's going to talk about the social media side of our campaign.
That's right, because no marketing campaign is complete without some solid social media. So let's take a look at that. All right, so what you'll see on the screen is a sampling of 3 of 5 posts in one category of social media that we're looking at doing. And this category 1 is pretty generic. The idea here is that we're telling people about our services. So that's everything we offer on our website and our general services. So some of that is our trip planner on our website. Some of that is our park and ride, which is free, and you can take the bus to get downtown or anywhere within Salem-Kaiser, as well as transportation options. As Jonah mentioned, there's other ways to get around too. Sometimes that includes taking the bus. And so how we're planning on doing these is taking advantage of mostly Facebook and Instagram. And on Instagram, we're looking at doing carousels. So where appropriate, we'll do more than one photo so we can extend the reach of some of this content as well. And this content will also be available, the caption there at the top will be available in English and in Spanish. And that'll be a part of that same post that we put out. So like I said, this is category 1, but we've been talking with the city. If possible, they will try to share some of these posts as it makes sense on their platform as well. So then that second category that we're looking at is less general and getting more specific into the bus as a solution to parking. And so what we're going at with this one is getting it into people's minds that we are a viable alternative to getting downtown or getting anywhere with your vehicle. And so part of that is consider Cherriots. And so we're looking at doing some reels, about 5 of them, that take advantage of a pop culture reference that you'll all be familiar with, I'm sure, that makes light of typical parking hassles. And so this content will include information or make light of some of those hassles, which include overthinking where you park, parallel parking, your spot getting stolen by somebody else. So we pulled different portions of a popular clip, and we'll go ahead and show an example of that video here in a moment. And this is what they'll all look like.
All right, start looking for spaces.
Oh, you're never gonna find a space on Jerry's block. Just put it in a garage.
Look, I have my system. First, I look for the dream spot right in front of the door, then I slowly expand out in concentric circles.
I think you have a fan.
All right. Well, no matter how someone feels about parking or about transit, our goal with those is that someone will find it humorous, get a laugh, and get that in their mind that Cherriots is an alternative getting around. Consider Cherriots. So as for the timeline, those first 2 bullets we've already taken care of. We're already there. We've delivered the material kits to the City of Salem. And all of the content's already on the City of Salem website, as Jonah mentioned. So between June 1 and July 31st, over that 8-week period, we're looking at doing about a post a week. And we'll vary the time frames from week to week. And we're going to alternate between those 2 posts that you saw, the Category 1 and Category 2 posts. And so the idea between that time frame is that with the implementation occurring on July 10th and the installation of some of the parking meters and all of the communication that the City of Salem will be doing, we want to be a part of that communication. We want to be a part of that conversation. So by having that social media there in the outset, as well as there at the, when people, it becomes very real for folks as they drive downtown and realize, I got to pay for parking now, which some may only realize come July 10th when they get downtown. We want to make sure they're seeing our social media and think, oh, I can take the bus. Problem solved. So then on or around August 31st, we're planning on doing an after-action review, and that's where we'll be able to take a look at how successful the campaign's been up to that point, things we can do better in the future, and things that went well that we can apply to other partnerships and other outreach. And so how are we going to measure success? Well, some of it's pretty standard, but we're going to track some digital engagement. So that's website traffic to any of those links from social media. That's our social media engagement actually on the platform. And even the QR codes that are within that hard copy collateral are trackable. So we're going to be able to see how many people are using those QR codes to go to our website to learn more. And then another aspect of measuring success is trying to compare how is this campaign doing to affect ridership. That's sometimes a really hard thing to connect, but nonetheless we'll be able to take a look at that and see if there's any signs of increased transit use downtown. And with that, turn it over to you all if you have any questions.
Alrighty. Any questions
Or comments.
or comments? Comments are, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. People can make comments. Director Davidson?
This is great. I'm sure this took a lot of work and effort. This looks very slick. I'm excited to see the reaction to the Consider Cherriots campaign, particularly the social media. I did chuckle. I didn't maybe laugh out loud, but it was very well done. I do think that we do have an opportunity to rewrite the narrative that Cherriots is not just as is often portrayed in, sitcoms like Seinfeld, something that only people who are down on their luck do. But it's something that everyone in the community can and should do. It's a good opportunity for us to rewrite that message in our community, and in a fun and playful way. So very well done. Looking forward to seeing this all roll out, both the physical and digital versions. Thank you.
Any comments, Director Laura Midkiff? No? All right. Director Duncan?
Thank you very much. So I need to highlight because we ask for a lot sometimes, and it comes back to us in different ways all the time. And I want to say that in the 4 years I've been on this board, I've asked for a lot, and I feel like very listened to right now. I feel like the partnership aspect with the city is there, which is something we've talked about wanting to build on. The highlighting existing opportunities that are already going to be top of mind and in the community and in the news, like the parking situation, is fantastic. This is exactly the type of campaign I would hope to see us run. You guys included online interface, physical interface, internal interface, and social media interface, which is everything that I would ask my team to do when I've managed marketing teams. So I am very pleased. This is fantastic. I can't wait to see more of this. I just really appreciate it. This is very well laid out in such a way that I think is easy to understand. There's a lot of visuals. It doesn't get too, people's attention spans are incredibly short, and I think that you know that, and you've done a good job to cater to that. I have very few comments that are negative. The only thing I have to say is my first thought at rethink is this could be taken in a negative connotation. But I mean, this is not a hill I'm gonna die on in any way, shape, or form. I love this. Thank you so much for bringing it to us as a presentation, because I know that this is a thing we've been asking for, and this could have just been a thing you did, but I really appreciate it, you highlighting it to us. So, right up my alley. Thank you so much.
Well, before I get to Director Laura Midkiff, I did want to say that I also appreciate, I know it's not directly tied to this right now, but I did forget at our last board meeting to thank the communications and marketing team for changing the layout on how we do our signs bilingually. I noticed on some on our buses the route updates, because normally it would be English and then Spanish was in italics, and I really appreciate that it is no longer in italics. It makes it so much easier to read, so thank you for that. And now I'll pass it over to Director Laura Midkiff.
That's interesting. I think one thing about italics too is it suggests that it's, when you read prose, the words that shouldn't be in the language are italicized, and so that's actually really a good observation. Thank you for this. This is very wonderful, and I hope will, for all the reasons Sarah just mentioned, is really wonderful. I hope will change behavior and bolster our intergovernmental partnerships with our city. I had a question about who does our Spanish translation services for these pamphlets.
So typically what we do, we actually start with a Google translation, depending on the size. We do have a professional translation service if it's a large document that we will send out. For smaller things like this, we would start with a Google translation, and then we have native Spanish speakers review it, multiple native Spanish speakers review that translation to make sure that it's, that there's, as you probably aware, Google Translate isn't always 100% accurate or how you would actually say something. So those that's basically the two methods we typically use.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Director Laura Midkiff. I know that we sent previously an incomplete version of this, so if you haven't received the new one, I want to make sure you do, because there were some edits that we made in Spanish. But I also want to follow up on that. So we do have quite a few native Spanish speakers who review it. I am the final approver on what goes out, so if there are any issues, it's ultimately my fault.
Thank you. When I think about, doing better, and I wonder if there's a more professional avenue we can take moving forward, recognizing there may be financial constraints to that. I spent the duration of our talk, and I have a lot of notes. And so I just to keep in mind, in the same way that being an native English speaker doesn't mean that you should be writing pamphlets for people, probably also not true for native Spanish speakers, although it's better than nothing. And so I appreciate that effort. So, and I recognize that these are probably already out. Is that what I understood from your presentation?
Yes, they've actually been produced already.
That's fine. That's great. Other than, I'd love to see maybe some more resources dedicated to future campaigns for our Spanish speaking communities moving forward. But otherwise, really wonderful, and thank you for your presentation and all of your efforts on this campaign. So excited to see what comes of it.
Thank you. I don't see online if Director Holmstrom has any comments or questions.
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you. It's good.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everyone remembered that Director Holmstrom is there. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. We really appreciate it, all your work.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so this moves us into our public comment portion of the agenda. So we do ask folks to limit their comments to 3 minutes, and we will get started with Tyler McCulley.
As a overly marginalized writer, I think the last 3 weeks to a month has been a little bit more hectic than normal on the property and on the buses. Just for you guys' note, but yeah, and we definitely need to make it, I think we need to start making it cost prohibitive to drive a car. Whether that's parking, whether that's the, saw something, they want to up the driver's education part of when you're getting a license. And then I saw on social media, people were like, well, what if people can't afford it? I'm like, sorry, it costs so much to drive, but it's also a responsibility and a privilege, But yeah, you guys are doing great, and I'm sure we'll get somewhere with some of these issues. As far as the parking thing, maybe I'm an idea guy. Maybe get even a small bus, like a cutaway, to circulate around downtown. More stops, but it probably only take 15, 20 minutes to do a small loop around the downtown blocks. Again, maybe that's even as a trial thing to get people to, hey, I don't have to pay for parking, I can ride this bus, and return them to the transit mall. But that's just an idea I had. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Tyler. All right, and next up is Nick Forty.
Good evening, Cherriots Board. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you tonight. My name is Nick Forty. I reside at 2165 Turnage Street in West Salem. I'm the Transportation Infrastructure Chair for the West Salem Neighborhood Association. I appear before you tonight to advocate for projects you've already committed to, the Comprehensive Operational Analysis and the Transit Signal Priority Project. So why advocate for things already in motion? We hope that we can, early on, shape ongoing work to create desired outcomes that will support greater transit service in West Salem and beyond. As I'm sure you're aware, transit signal priority reduces bus delays. That said, there are important add-ons that are well within the control of Cherriots that can better support improved service times, such as faster boarding times and stop locations, that we hope can be highlighted in the collection and operational data and the subsequent data analysis and presentation. Second, there are other add-ons that are not under Cherriots' control, which we hope can be drawn out both in the comprehensive operational analysis and as transit signal priority projects are rolled out that can support better bus service. In short, we encourage the overall integration of operational data and needs to better identify how and where improvements can be made to improve bus operations. So some specifics may help illustrate a little bit. For the downtown station, we consider improving the Court Street operations so buses can exit the transit center more easily. For example, improving transit signal priority through Chemeketa and Center Street so buses can exit more quickly and join the traffic stream. So these are short operational improvements, but there's a larger issue, costs. We think that Cherriots is bearing too much of the cost for these transit signals. Yes, the signals definitely benefit buses, but where buses are a major part of the traffic stream, they also benefit other vehicles. And more broadly, where buses predominate, there are other factors associated with buses, like passenger load factors, that support a greater cost sharings throughout the system. And to end on this point, the system's point, the overall signal system and network design has important potential benefits for Cherriots that hopefully will be further drawn out in this operations study and transit signal priority analysis and form a basis for actions carrying to Cherriots' strategic plan and the city's upcoming transportation systems plan. Thank you very much for considering our comments.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming and for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public comment portion, and we'll be moving into our consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
All right, Director Laura Midkiff moved.
I'll second.
Director Duncan second. Got to be faster on the draw there. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion passes unanimously by all those present. And that moves us right into our action items. Authorized contract extension with DPI Security. General Manager.
Yeah, thank you. I'd ask Karen Garcia, our Security and Emergency Management Manager, to please come forward and make the presentation.
Good evening, President Hinojosa Pressey and members of the board. This evening, I'm here to ask the board to authorize the general manager to execute a contract extension with DPI Security for the next fiscal year. We have been in a relationship with DPI Security since 2021. We began their services at the Del Webb Operations Headquarters in August of 2021, and they've been a great partner for us and with us. We have an open campus there until our construction project, which is ongoing and spans multiple years, allows us to close the gates and be more secure on our perimeter. And so we have continued to have that security presence there to address any unauthorized persons or vehicles that enter the property. With the presence of security there, we have been able to reduce the likelihood and the occurrences of people coming on the property pretty significantly. And when we do have someone come on the property, they are contacted quickly and redirected back out onto the street or to the bus stop. Oftentimes people will show up because they're looking for customer service or how do I get on the bus? And so we're able to redirect folks out to the services and where they can achieve those. So we are hoping to extend the contract with DPI for the next fiscal year, and that's what I'm here for this evening. Again, we've been in partnership with them for quite a few years, and this is just an extension so that we can continue that on-site security presence until we get the fencing project completed. So staff, the budget for this, the funding is in the general fund budget for next fiscal year in the Security and Emergency Management Department budget. Staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to execute a contract extension with DPI Security for security services unarmed at the Del Webb Operations Headquarters for a not-to-exceed amount of $290,000. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you very much. Director Davidson?
Thank you for your report and, excuse me, and your memo, Manager Garcia. Both in your memo and in your comments, you mentioned that until the fencing project is complete, there will be continued need to have a security presence at the Del Webb facility. Is the intention to no longer need 24-hour security once the fence is in place?
I think once the fence is in place, Director Davidson, we will do an evaluation. I'm hoping that with the security of that fence in place and we not having holes in our perimeter throughout the business day, that we will be able to reduce that service. But at this time, I don't think that we can fairly make that assessment. So we'll do an evaluation once the fence is in place and then make a decision. We may be able to change to a different type of service, but we don't know at this point what we'll need in the future.
That's encouraging to hear that you'll do an evaluation after the fence is up. On that note, in terms of timelines, does this contract give you, I can't remember when we expect the fence to be here. It looks like this contract extends until June 30th, 2026 if we approve it. Is that within the time span for the fence to be installed?
We're continuing to working on the engineering portion of the fence project, and we also are working to obtain environmental approval from the FTA. So until we get those things in place, we won't be able to do a solicitation for a contractor to do construction, but we're hoping to do construction as early as next summer. So we may not have it completed by the end of fiscal year 26, and we may need to extend again until we can get the construction completed, but that's what we're hoping for, is construction next summer.
Great, thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Director Davidson.
Sorry, one last one. This contract doesn't have a optional extension in it, correct?
Director Davidson, the way that we partner with DPI is through a state price agreement. And so the state has been in partnership with DPI and in contract with them for quite some time. And each year they do an amendment for the next fiscal year. That's why we bring this back every year. We can't contract with them using that state price agreement beyond what the state's agreement is. So therefore, we have to come back every year as needed once the state does their amendment, and then we can use that amendment to do our extension for the next year.
Great, thank you for explaining that.
Yes, you're welcome.
I'm just going to pause to make sure I don't miss anyone for any questions. If not, then I will entertain a motion. Yes, Director Duncan.
Happy to make the motion.
Oh, okay, well, there we go.
I move that the board authorize the general manager to execute a contract extension with DPI Security Incorporated for security services unarmed at the Del Webb Operations Headquarters for a not to exceed amount of $290,000.
Second.
Really fighting over here.
I'm happy to see you all so excited about securing our facility. Thank you.
I'm going to give it to Director Davidson because he can't lose twice. All right, any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion passes unanimously by those present.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, well, I hope that y'all are as excited as our next items, creating Community Connections Project Brief.
Great, thank you. I'll ask Chief Rose to kick off the presentation. Please come on up.
Aw, y'all's hair is similar.
Oh.
Cute.
Good evening, President Hinojosa Pressy and other members of the board. I am going to pass this off to Dana Terrell to go over a few of the activities that they've been doing on their side, and when she's done, I'm going to go a little bit over what we've been doing on the more operational administrative side.
Fantastic.
Hers is more fun.
President Hinojosa Pressy and all of the board of directors, it's wonderful to be back with you again and to talk to you, thank you, about the progress we're making on the Creating Community Connections campaign. The website and survey are going to be launched. They're really, really close. They're on track to be launched as on June 2nd, that first week of June, and both will be fully available in English and Spanish. And that will be the central hub for all of the public input and campaign information. Impact stories in both video and photos are well underway. We're continuing to prepare all the videos in both English and Spanish in translated audio and subtitles. So complete versions in both English and Spanish, audio available and subtitles available. Social media. We've worked with the Cherriots team. It was fun to hear them present earlier as I kind of echoed some of the giggles and the appreciation. It's great to see them presenting that. We've been working together on a social media plan and a content calendar, and campaign posts will be ready and will begin the first week of June. And we've also created a way to integrate Reddit into the regular marketing communications efforts. So let me dig in a little bit deeper because I know you have expressed interest in social media and Reddit. So with social media campaign plan, we have the goals of increased public engagement with the service enhancement plan, driving meaningful participation in the survey, humanizing transit through the real rider stories, and promoting the community outreach events so we can boost the attendance. So with that provides us with 3 content categories: the impact stories that you've seen some of, the survey promotions, getting people to take the survey, and the event announcements. And with those 3 content categories, there's lots of different options of content within it. So sometimes we as marketers get stuck with scheduling out our social media calendar a month ahead, and we've just put 1 post a day. But what we're working with the team on is really varying that up. So you've got maybe I'll look at the calendar specifically. We've lined out a calendar starting in July through the end of the year. Mondays will typically be survey promotion day. Tuesdays will be the short form video on Instagram. Wednesday will be the long form video on Facebook. Thursdays will be event promotion on both platforms. And then some options for Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday for carousels, stories, and other ways to continue to promote content that's doing well. And then suggested boosting, because this day and age, people don't see social media content unless you put just a little bit of money. A little bit of money goes a really long way. So with this roadmap, there's flexibility within it, and yet it provides enough structure that we can really have content in a varying ways out in social media almost every day of the week for this campaign alone. Then for Reddit, because Cherriots has been somewhat involved but not really involved, we are recommending a conservative approach in not just diving in, because Reddit is really an authentic. You got to be a real person on Reddit. You can't come in as a corporate sounding anything, or you'll be sort of dismantled. So phase 1 approach is monitor and familiarize. Get involved with subreddits, especially the Salem, Oregon one. Find out what people are talking about. Make some notes and some thoughts about how you can participate, but just hold back for a little bit. Then in a month 2 and 3, have a soft entry so that Cherriots is beginning to add helpful comments. So clarifying confusions, thanking people for writing, gently correcting some misinformation that might be out there, but not yet doing your own standalone posts. So it's not until month 4 that we actually do some intentional thread creation where we're posting Cherriots in a clear, transparent, and very personal way. So we're Cherriots, we're here, we've been watching things, here's what's going on this summer, ask a question. We're planning some future transit improvements. We'd really like to hear what you have to say. Here's a survey that you can take for us to hear on those things. The best practice is something that you may already know, but if you don't, is to be friendly, transparent, and lightly self-deprecating, honestly. Never, ever corporate or overly polished on Reddit. The frequency is to aim for 2 to 3 helpful comments a month and one thoughtful post per quarter, at least in this beginning 6 months or so, using the guidelines that we set out before, and to respond quickly. So especially in the early days of trying to build trust, the more quickly you can respond as people draw you out or ask you questions, the better. So that's social media. Should I pause? And do you want to comment or ask questions about social media specifically, since it's such a big topic?
Sure. I'll turn it to our social media expert, Director Laura McKip. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I actually do have a question.
Go ahead.
The newly inaugurated social media expert. So thank you. Good to see you. So my question is on Reddit. So this may be too in the weeds, but maybe worth asking. One would be, who would be running the Reddit account? Would it be like a staff person? Would it be you? Would it be you? Would it be...
Yeah, it would be Coordinator Hagdorn.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my only question, maybe concern, would be that I don't never been on Reddit, but I have met people, and typically when people of authority start commenting on things, that can go badly very quickly, because folks want answers for something else, or they want why are they replying to this person and not me? And have you got any of that, any thought, knowing that you're the experts and I'm not? I just wondering what you all have thought about that, because I feel like it opens up a lot of. I want us to be accessible and maybe even casual at some level and relatable, but that also brings all the contentions that those things entail. I mean, to be casual means a lot of things, and so I just wonder what your reactions were.
I appreciate the comment and the question. I think it is true. This goes further into community engagement, so having conversations with people. It's not posting and seeing their comments later or something. So it is a slightly different kind of engagement than maybe what would be comfortable or what we might be used to. But it is extremely powerful. And in my opinion, negative conversations or even negative comments are as much of an opportunity or more to have engagement with people than the other way around, because you have a chance to let people know that they've been heard, and you have a way of correcting people gracefully and providing a solution or an answer. And there are times when you just have to kind of leave it and let people. Oftentimes, if you're able to be there and develop trust enough, the community might stand up for you. That's the best case scenario, is other people say, hey, wait a minute, I experienced something different, and they start to talk with each other.
So I agree with that. And maybe the last two things I would just kind of want to think about would be, as much as I'm inclined to agree with people, sometimes people's perceptions of things are not robust or accurate. And as someone who has presided over very contentious public meetings where you've had hundreds of people who are yelling at you, I know that all too well. Mm-hmm. And so how would you deal with that? Someone who maybe is saying things that may appear to be true or appear to be some one way or another, but aren't materially accurate or true. And then the second would be, I think I would be worried about, and we're getting maybe too much in the weeds here, but I'd be worried about, when you go to a product review page for something and they're like, oh, this was the worst thing ever, and then they're like, thank you for your review. And then it's just the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I wouldn't want it to be that either, and so I just
disingenuous.
I want it to be. I don't know. I know I'm just talking, but I just would love to think about those things and feel good, in order for me to feel like we're ready to do this well. Yeah.
Well, I would say that is why we're tiptoeing in. So the first month is not saying a word, but looking at it. And if there's negativity happening, then we have a chance to prepare and to have some talking points and FAQs and things planned and ways to respond before we even get started. And of course, that soft entry can even be delayed if we feel like there's some negative comments out there. I think there's a way of acknowledging people that isn't just patting them on the head and saying thank you and walking away, but genuinely saying, I'm going to look into that, or I appreciate your feedback, we're going to add that to our list, because we really do. We are getting feedback from people. And hey, why don't you talk to your neighbors and ask them to go take the survey too? Because we'll be collecting that feedback and giving it to the people who are going to create the next plan. So it doesn't have to be disingenuous. It can be, we really do want to hear you. And even if they're commenting on something, they're throwing out a street that doesn't exist or something. I mean, we still want to hear it, and it doesn't hurt to collect everybody's information.
Thank you for entertaining my questions.
All right, Director Duncan?
I feel like I'm getting a lot of things I wanted today because I know this is a thing I have mentioned a lot. I know myself, and I think Director Davidson as well, has gotten people just sending us even screenshots of what's going on Reddit that we don't necessarily see. And it always has made me a little bit concerned that we're not monitoring that conversation, that we don't know what's going on there, and that we're not present at all. And I am so aware that Reddit is not the easiest platform to approach from our situation, and at the same time, that's where the community is. So we have to figure out how to go there. So I really appreciate that, especially with kind of Twitter being different than it used to be and the use of it really changing. I wanted to say that I really appreciate what you mentioned about community engagement. I think that there's a misconception that when you respond to a negative comment on a social media post or something, that you're responding to the person who made the negative comment. When I respond to the negative comment, I'm not responding to them. I'm responding for every other person that's going to read that comment and want to see what was said to them. Especially during the pandemic, when we were all at home and spending way too much time on Facebook groups. I know I'm not the only one that did that. I had people reach out from the woodwork in my real life to tell me, hey, I read what you said on this one post thread, didn't comment, didn't like. And they were like, and I really appreciate what you said. And I'm talking like 15 different instances where people stopped me at work or on the street or whatever, because I was a server during the pandemic. And people were directly commenting me. And these are people that I had no idea were reading my comments. I had no idea at all. And it's one of those things that, and if I had not had that specific experience, I might not have appreciated how important it is to engage even when it feels like you could get piled on. Because often the people that are reading that information and taking it in and taking a positive experience from it or learning something from it are not the people commenting. And that's a hard thing to hold in your head, especially even when you're running those pages. It's a hard thing to hold in your head. But yeah, I just wanted to say that negative comments are very much an opportunity. And when you respond to them, it's not because you're responding to that person, you're responding to everyone else who will read it. So anyway, I think this is a great approach. I love the soft entry. I love that we're going to be like looking and learning first. I'm very comforted that we will be starting to have a presence here, and this is a thing that we understand is difficult. I'm really glad that Terrell Group can kind of help us form this as a thing that we are able to do so that we can start to tentatively enter other more alternative media spaces, which is where our community is, and we can meet them in the moment. So thank you very much for bringing this to us.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing that up about everybody else, not just the person who's making a comment. That's a really good point, especially in the instances where you're saying thank you for your comment, a version of that. You do have a way to maybe correct some information for everybody else that may come after or be part of the conversation. I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, not responding is a response in 2025 also. It's important to remember that.
Other questions, or well, then please continue.
Okay, thank you. So we are also working on events. So we're collaborating with the Cherriots team on an engaging event setup for community tabling. So going out into various events that are happening in the community, setting up an interactive game that's what's your writer style, where you answer a few quick questions and you get a custom styled badge, aka sticker, when you complete the interaction. And then you get a token that you get to put into a little vending machine, and then it delivers a prize. So the point is to be fun, eye-catching, but also to be able to actually gather feedback through this question and answer, and counting how many badges we are handing out so we know what kind of writer style we are, and then also building awareness. Community partners, the Cherriots team is identifying partners who can help get the word out. So we're putting together a toolkit for the partners that includes social media posts, email templates, sample scripts. We really want to hear from diverse communities, and we heard that from all of you. And so we're going to be asking for partners to help spread the word to get more of that feedback. Starting in June, you'll see campaign signage popping up in the stations and on the buses. and everywhere around the system. So it'll be reinforcing the message and encouraging people to participate. And then we're working on the community presentation that members of Cherriots' team can use when speaking to groups like the Chamber of Commerce or any of the other neighbor and community groups. So again, wanting to be able to be prepared, so able to go out into the community and give presentations and collect feedback that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions or comments? Director Davidson?
First off, thank you for the presentation and all the work. I would love to know more about the events, and I guess where will they be occurring? Are we tagging on to existing events? Are we hosting our own? Could you give me a sense of that?
I might pass this a little to you after just a moment, but through some of the initial conversations that we had with the Service Enhancement Subcommittee and the board, and through conversations, it was determined that, and honestly our recommendation, it was determined that it wasn't the best use of resources to necessarily have our own event and expect the community to come to us, but to go out to where the community is. So tagging on to existing community events that make sense, so where residents are going, not necessarily visitor events, but where residents are already going, whether that be city events or cultural events or neighborhood events, that a table or a booth can be set up at, that it's tagging on to somebody else is already doing the work to make the event. And I'm going to pass it on because the Cherriots team has been making the list of those events.
Thank you. We do have a list of those events, Director Davidson, and I think it would be a really fun show and tell at our next Service Enhancement Subcommittee meeting to bring those to you, because Chief Ulazum and I and General Manager Bahalik will be meeting to really deep dive, actually tomorrow, we're meeting to really deep dive into the kind of final list that we have, if that still makes sense, what we could take advantage of. We have a couple outreach initiatives right now, so how we can integrate our internal partnerships with that as well. So we're really excited, but we want to bring you some show and tell in a couple weeks.
I'm looking forward to it.
Other questions? We can keep going.
My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Since our last update, our primary focus has been an intensive review of campaign materials. Thanks to Terrell Group for bringing them to us for accuracy and clarity. That's what we're looking over. While much of the creative development is in motion, including the website updates that have been touched on, with an embedded tax calculator, signage, social content, and video production, our team has zeroed in, or one could say we're laser focused on ensuring the work reflects our standards before it moves forward.
I believe the Gen Z term is locked in.
Locked in. Okay. So it's actually been a profound test of patience and precision for our team. We have to remind each other daily that speed cannot come at the cost of quality. And as someone who thrives on momentum and as part of a high-performing team, it's tempting to brush off small concerns to keep things moving, but it takes a lot of bravery to say something feels off, let's pause. So that's been what we've really been working on. Coordinators Hansen and Hagedorn, along with Customer Service Manager Hamlin, have consistently stepped up to that, naming concerns, asking tough questions, and strengthening the final product. In addition to that, Chief Ulazum and his team have provided very thoughtful feedback, historical context, and a lot of best practices to ensure that we're connecting with the community the right way. So I just want to say that their diligence is really inspiring. They're building each other's confidence and setting a high bar for collaboration. So we hope that your confidence is growing too. There's a real fire in our bellies, and we're really proud to be shaping a campaign that reflects the integrity of the district, in partnership, of course, with the Terrell Group. And with that, I am happy to take any questions that you might have.
Well, let's see if we have any questions left, since you so graciously let us just bump into your presentation. Director Duncan.
Thank you very much. I wanted to say I really appreciate that you've roped in the customer service team, since they will be those who will probably have the best idea of how the public is going to react to the information, and therefore be a great voice there. I just also want to highlight what you said about it being difficult to give feedback when somebody's made this big, beautiful, wonderful thing, and you're like, "Ugh." So I just want to thank you for highlighting that that's difficult, and I appreciate our team having sometimes what is hard conversations about something for the ultimate outcome being amazing. So thank you for taking the care and time to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Director Davidson.
I have a question. Chief Rose, what you just mentioned at the end about the team being willing to pause and put a priority on quality, I just want to say thank you for that. I think that's a value that is certainly something that we as an organization aspire to, and I'm always encouraged to see that in action. That is hard to do, as you acknowledged, but I think that's the right approach, and I'd much rather have something done right than fast. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for all the intention and effort and just laying everything out for us and just walking us through it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I do feel kind of bad that somebody has to follow up that presentation, but if anybody is capable of doing it, it's for our fiscal year 2025 quarter 3 strategic plan report. General Manager?
Great, thank you. I ask our Strategic Initiatives Administrator, Bobby Kidd, to please come forward.
Just want to make sure you can hear me. Good evening, President Ina, host Pressy, members of the board. Time really does fly when you're having fun, because we are already past quarter 3 and halfway through quarter 4. This evening, I'm here to speak to the progress made on the strategic plan during quarter 3 of fiscal year 25.
As the person in charge of fundraising for my organization, I don't like to be reminded how close we are to that.
Right? I think we're about 6-ish weeks away. I know. Here, another reminder. I apologize. So just as always, a reminder, the guiding principles are before you. These are really the foundation of the strategic plan and our day-to-day operations and work that we accomplish. And also a reminder of the success outcomes for fiscal year 25. You're going to be seeing a new set of success outcomes next quarter when I review quarter 4, wrapping up fiscal year 25, and then really launching fiscal year 26's work plan. But a refresher for the success outcomes for fiscal year 25, our goal was to maintain a community value score of 84, and we get that score from the community value survey. We surpassed it by 1 point, 85. And then for customer satisfaction, we do a net promoter score for both our fixed routes and our paratransit service, Lyft. And the question is, would you recommend the Cherriots service to a friend or family member? And we get a score. Our goal was no less than 52 and no less than 51. And we far surpassed that with the net promoter score for our local service being 56 and our Lyft being 69. Now, with the culture of ownership, usually around right now, we would be getting the updated score for our employee engagement. But because of the way the reporting process has been with the strategic plan, or developing the strategic plan, it makes sense to move the employee engagement survey to the fall around the same time as the community and customer. So that does mean that this year, fiscal year 25, we won't have an update, but we will in a few months when we conduct the survey in the fall. But that just makes the strategic planning process so much more tangible for those results, because we're receiving them right before we're actually planning for the next fiscal year. Because if we were to get them right now, we've already planned for the next fiscal year, right? And then financial sustainability year 3 is a delivery of full capital program budget and successful completion of triennial review. So well underway. This is a reminder of the 16, it does not like that slide. There we go, okay. The 16 organizational tactics all fall under the 4 buckets: community value, culture of ownership, customer satisfaction, financial sustainability, and those tied to those success outcomes we were just talking about on the previous slide. So tonight I would like to highlight, let's hear from a chief. It says plural chiefs up there, but because tonight we're going to be hearing from one chief, she's going to speak to two tactics and her and her team's progress. So Chief Rhodes.
Thank you. Hello again. So we're gonna, like she said, highlight two. One is our merit-based pay for performance system. The other one's our rewards and recognition program. I'm going to speak to the merit-based pay for performance system update first. I'm actually really pleased to share, it's really an important update. So again, it's one of our FY25 strategic priorities, and the tactic itself is the implementation of a merit-based pay for performance system for non-represented staff that ties employee compensation directly to individual performance, team success, and ultimately the overall success of the district. This project was designed to fulfill a key goal in our strategic plan, which we now call goals, to create a compensation system grounded in transparency, accountability, and alignment. We aim to build a process that not only rewards strong performance, but also encourages continuous growth, supports our teams, and reinforces our shared organizational goals. To that end, over the past year, we've developed and implemented that new performance appraisal process, again, for non-represented staff, and we've made sure that it's simple, structured, and more meaningful. The system is built around clearly defined competencies and includes a self-assessment, a supervisor evaluation, and a calibration tool. These elements help ensure consistency and fairness across the district and also align with Oregon's pay equity laws. Now, each employee receives a performance rating that directly correlates to a merit-based salary adjustment. This takes place annually and is a major shift from our previous model and represents, again, that clear step forward in recognizing and rewarding excellence transparently. Equally important, we've embedded communication and training into every phase of this project, equipping both supervisors and employees with the tools they need to succeed under this new model. While the first cycle of appraisals is underway, I want to emphasize that we have actually completed the build and fully launched the program, which is what our goal was. It's already changing how we engage with performance. It's changing how we talk about goals. It's changing how we invest in our people. So we'll continue monitoring the program closely. We're going to continue gathering that feedback and refining our practices, but rest assured the foundation itself is solid. The work that we've put into this really reflects our commitment to high standards, strong performance, and a culture that values both accountability and support. This project could not have been nearly as successful without the support of Executive Assistant Cassandra Williams, our IT manager, our Business Services manager, and members of the HR team. They were incredible support staff, and we're really very, very grateful for their contributions to the success of this project and the betterment of the district. If you're okay with it, I'm going to switch to the other goal, unless you have any questions.
Do folks have any questions on this goal specifically? I have some questions, but I can wait till the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for our rewards and recognition program, that's also part of our strategic plan, and the goal is to fully roll out the rewards and recognition program for transportation, maintenance, facility, contracted services, and that's mainly not contracted services, that's mainly our represented staff, and then we also have it built in for our non-represented staff. This has been a partnership between Chief Operations Officer Dietz and I, and so we're really pleased to provide this update on our progress. Over the last several months, we've worked together to gather feedback from employees and leadership, refine the structure of the program, and build a sustainable model that truly reflects Cherriots' core values. What we've landed on is a very thoughtful district-wide initiative that honors core values in a meaningful and cost-effective way. The program includes the following: quarterly and annual recognition for both represented and non-represented employees, a million-mile driver club that recognizes transit operators for long-term accident-free performance, a suite of deliverables such as nomination tools, marketing campaigns, personalized awards, and public recognition on multiple platforms, including at our board meetings. Fingers crossed that our board members are on board with celebrating our team members on this forum. Thank you, I will take that. The full implementation proposal has been presented to our leadership team, and we're really excited about the level of engagement and momentum it has gained. As with any large-scale initiative, we're now at the point where we have to decide whether we want to sprint to the finish line or give ourselves a little bit more runway to ensure we do it the way it needs to be done. Either way, we're committed to launching a program that celebrates our people and strengthens our culture, and is designed not only to recognize outstanding performance, but to also reinforce the values that make Cherriots a great place to work. So we are on track, and we look forward to bringing you more updates as we continue to move forward. And as always, I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Awesome. Well, thanks for rolling right through that. And do we have any questions? Okay. I was just wondering how the transition on the merit-based performance is going, just because I'm sure it's a big change for folks, like getting used to doing their evaluations during a certain time period and maybe like betting on like increases then to waiting a few months or 6 months or however long it would take. So how's it going?
That is a really good question. It is truly a mixed bag. I think some find it to be a very welcome reprieve, especially with the simplicity of the forms. And I think others feel like it might be a little bit of a takeaway. And so we will have to continue with our education and reframing and really taking advantage of the after action review. What went well? What can we learn from? What can we improve on? What adjustments can we make? Where do we hold the line? So we're excited for that after action review because that's really where the gold is going to be. And it just sometimes takes getting there, right? That's the big part, is getting through it and then learning what you need to learn in that process. But our employees are quite candid, and so they will let us know what improvements they would like to see, I'm sure.
Oh, that's good. And then I was wondering, this might be getting a little too in the weeds. I was wondering about that calibration tool because one of my questions had been like if there was any like specific bias training or anything, because that was always my concern when we started talking about the merit-based performance increase, is that, you know, somebody's did well could be another one's like met performance or exceeded or something.
Thank you. It's a really good question. It's something that we had to think about right off the bat. How are we going to align this? What does somebody's to mean here versus there? So there's a couple things we put into place. Thing number one is a performance appraisal guide. And so what that guide says basically is, here's the competency. Here's how the competency is defined. Here are the 3 marks one can receive. So there's below performance expectations, meets performance expectations, or exceeds performance expectations. That's the unicorn one, right? But each of those marks also has definitions so that it's less guesswork. There's less bias built in, and you can go to that competency, read what meets expectations looks like, and if somebody does not fit in there very, very well, then it's time to look at the other 2 categories, because it could be that they just simply exceed it so much that meets is just underwhelming, and similarly, it might be that somebody needs improvement in some areas. So that's that piece. Separately, we have a spreadsheet, we'll call it, or a worksheet, where you take the scores from the form, we call it PA1, the performance appraisal form, take it from the PA1, there's some data entry that takes place in the worksheet. The worksheet then produces a number, which is the average. That number has a correlating factor based on what we have budgeted for the year, which will change, I'm sure, from year to year. And so it's not a 1-for-1 that produces a correlating factor number, and that would be the wage increase. Even then, we have 2 layers of, especially because it's our first, we have 2 layers of oversight. The chiefs will oversee the managers' review them, check the scores, and then our executive leadership team, General Manager Pollock and Deputy General Manager Trimble, are also reviewing them because that's where there's going to be some great coaching opportunities for leadership on how we suss out what we suss out and how we score what we score and why we make the recommendations we do if it doesn't match the score. So we do have some checks and balances layers, and that's something else we're we're really excited to see and how that shakes out for us. Did it do what it needed to do? Do we still need some work there? So we've got a lot to learn, but again, the foundation is really, really solid.
Thank you. Dr. Duncan?
I think I've asked this in the past, but I just kind of ask it again just for more like transparency's sake. Is this in addition to or separate from a COLA?
This year, there is a merit increase and a COLA. That might not always be the case, but that's what it is this year.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. That is definitely my favored option of the two.
Wait. So, just math for a second. So, the COLA would hit like July, and the evaluation happens in July?
They will both be effective July 1st, and they will be reflected on the first paychecks in July.
Okay.
They'll happen
so
simultaneously.
So if someone's making like, we'll just say like $50,000, their COLA is like adding $3,000, they'd get $53,000, and then they get the merit on top of that, or would the merit go into effect first and then the COLA?
You know, off the top of my head, I can't remember which order goes first, but I think maths-wise, one has to go before the other.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just wondering, because I mean, like, I think the merit would then change the COLA a little bit. COLA.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, sorry. HR brain took over.
We did have that conversation. I don't remember.
I can't remember. It is written down because I write everything down, so it's somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, because I think it's an important point. We want to make sure that everybody is getting an increase their cost of living, or at least my opinion is that I would like to see everybody get their cost of living increase, because that's what is directly like their buying power. I want their lifestyle to be able to remain the same, like regardless of what, you know, like is going on in the world. And in order for merit to be able to be merit and to be an actual reward, I feel like it should be on top of that. So I appreciate you clearing that up. And then I always ask that question. I had another thing. I don't remember what it was. That's it. Thank you so much for clearing that up.
I'm sorry, I derailed your train of thought.
It's okay, you do it all the time.
I just knocked us right off the tracks. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very
Chief
much.
Rose. I would like to recognize that we just discussed progress on 2 tactics, and there are 16 organizational tactics. So that is the tip of the iceberg of the work that's being done. Last quarter, we heard from 2 other chiefs. We'll continue to hear from others in the future. So it's really exciting to be able to do a deep dive into a couple of tactics each quarter and hear from the chief. So thank you very much, Chief Rose. All right, a couple more slides here. I'd like to do a general overview of the tactics that we have, we're working on for this fiscal year, specifically quarter 3. In the bottom right-hand corner of this dashboard, you'll see 2 little bar graphs. The left one is a division. So it shows that 2 divisional tactics are complete as of the end of quarter 3, a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's great. 16 are still in progress, and 2 have been deferred. Now there's a new deferred category because as the year is wrapping up with our amazing goals going into the year, there's always a few that needs to be prolonged to or deferred to the next year. So we have 2 divisional tactics going to be deferred to fiscal year 26, and those are wrapped up in the goals for next year. And then on the bottom right, the very bottom right, those are organizational tactics. So we have 1 complete, 13 in progress, and 2 deferred. So in both categories, divisional and organizational. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2. 2 will be deferred in each category. Okay, so in conclusion, hopefully you saw at the budget committee meeting that when we rolled out the strategic plan for fiscal year 26, this year we have decoupled the strategic plan. So this is the fiscal year 25. It's one big document that we were updating every single year. And now we have 2 documents, one being the strategic plan. This will be reviewed every 5 to 6 years. And then the other one being the work plan, and this is the one that's updated every year. And these are where our goals live, organizational and divisional. So this is more of a working document, whereas our strategic plan will be the same for several years at a time. And then the other thing is the fiscal year 26 work plan is complete. Like I said, it's shared at the budget committee. It got rolled up those 2 bullet points together. And then something else that's exciting, kind of having to do with the strategic plan, is the Trans-Dash Summit is next month in June in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I will be traveling there or attending virtually. There's two options, so haven't decided which one yet, but we will for sure be I will be representing Cherriots at the Trans Summit. And then, this is another reminder, so sorry, but just over a month left of fiscal year 25. So we are wrapping up these tactics, and we're about ready to start work on our fiscal year 26. And with that being said, we're kicking off the new strategic plan or the work plan to employees or the goal owner specifically in June. And then we're going to be rolling it out to everybody and making sure people are aware of what's coming next and their parts in it, of course. So I'd love to take any questions if you have any.
Yeah. Any other questions from folks? Director Davidson?
Again, not with a question, is that all right?
I suppose.
Okay. First off, congratulations on all the hard work, both on your behalf, Administrator Kidd, and then the whole organization. I did notice that for one of the organizational tactics, there was the mention of the successful completion of the triennial review. I, however, did not notice anything about the review that ODOT conducts. And I did want to toot your all's horn on this because, I'm stealing your thunder, aren't I?
If you could hold off to the financial quarterly report.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
See, this is why we limit comments.
We're on the edge of our seat now, so that's exciting.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I mean, I have one question, and it's a hard left from this presentation, and it's just, did you bring us any wedding cake?
Right.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, appreciate it, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Here in the next few months, my name will be changing, so I'll give you guys all the update when it officially changes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's a slow process.
It takes a lot of
Takes a
time.
lot of time.
That's why I just added the name to the end of mine. Okay, so that brings us to our next report, and I don't think it's gonna be, is it our performance report where we're gonna be able to hear the rest of Ian's quote statement?
No, the financial
Okay,
report.
so you're still gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
All right, so I'll ask our Chief Planning and Development Officer, Chief Ulazum, to please come forward and make the presentation.
Good evening, Dr. President Inos Presi and other board of directors. Wow, what a presentations before me. It's going to be hard to beat those. Let's go. This is the performance report, FY25 Q3 for Cherriots. And just to give you a highlight what happened in those first 3 months. In January, we kicked off we have executed a couple of contracts, and namely comprehensive operations analysis and also the contract for the vent pool. And this COA, in short, this project is rolling, and we have made some significant progress in these first 3 months. And it's actually ongoing. So we have conducted the existing condition analysis, and this is going to be a 12-month project, and hoping to get something, the final product sometime March or April of next year. So a lot to come in the upcoming months. And then we have also started including some KPIs related to our battery electric bus to our performance report, and we have conducted, this is a quarterly thing, talk with the planner. We would love to get feedback from the operators and to see if we can make some improvements, and after that we take some after actions, which includes some implemented, and some of those are corrections or suggestions are implemented, and others otherwise we have some comments and how we can implement those. And then in March, looks like we have our COA, as I had mentioned, kicked off. And in addition to that, I'd like to also highlight a couple of other organizational projects, including shared micromobility. We have also launched this project to better understand how we can be a true mobility integrator. In addition to the fixed route, we also believe that there are a lot of potentials for the shorter trips within our service area, not only just connecting to the bus or bus stops, but also maybe making those shorter trips, just using those shared micromobility, namely bikes or that other modes. You may have seen our commuter options coordinator, Kiki Domen, everywhere. She is everywhere in this, and she will be everywhere in the upcoming month or so. Meaning that we're doing a lot of outreach in this month, and she will continue doing outreach and getting feedback from our communities and stakeholders in the next 2 months. And likewise for the COA, we will be going out to the communities pretty soon to get feedback. Our previous presentation, you have mentioned, I think they have highlighted the goal for the creating community connections and the outreach plan for that. So the long story in short, you and our communities, they will be looking at a lot of outreach effort beginning from this month to until the fall of this year. So I think this is a good opportunity for the community to help us to shape the future of our transit and the system overall. And I would like to start the performance report with the ridership update. So, we're kind of like steady. So we have seen only 1.1% increase of ridership compared to the same time frame last year. And part of the reasoning is it's in February of this year we had ice storm events, so that we had to suspend services, so we have lost some ridership in there as well. So that's why otherwise we would have probably more ridership gain. But to give you a perspective, overall in the whole transit industry, in general, they are 85% of the pre-COVID ridership level in general. But Cherriots, we are about 105% of the pre-COVID ridership level. So we have already exceeded our pre-COVID. So I'd like to make this statement here in this platform that Cherriots, we're doing much better than the rest of the country. And certainly ridership recovery-wise, we're definitely the number one in the state of Oregon. This is the 9 months graph that basically shows how we're doing. Last year, FY25 is the red lines, and this is the daily ridership. And then you see some dip in February. That's because of the ice storm. And other than that, I think in FY25, we have seen consistently higher ridership throughout those months. In terms of the system productivity, we track for all of those routes, and I would like to highlight a few of them, and I'm going to break it down by weekdays and weekends. And we have targets for our routes, like what should be the productivity, like some of those routes, high frequent routes have 20 boardings per revenue hours, and some of the coverage routes have 10 boarding per revenue hours. On the weekdays, I think Route 19, 21, Route 3, 16, 23, 7, those are familiar. So most of them are pretty consistently high performing and exceeding the route target when it comes to the productivity. And also the regional routes, 40X, it's pretty close to its target. So I'd like to highlight that as well. So on the Saturdays and Sundays, kind of similar story, but one of the things I'd like to highlight and break it down when it comes to the ridership as well. So on the weekdays, overall in our whole system, we have seen kind of like steady, neither increase or decrease, about the same. But on the Saturdays, we have seen 5% increase of ridership, and on the Sundays, we have seen 7% increase of the ridership. Overall, I think I would like to highlight the regional. At this point, we have seen productivity increase both weekdays and weekends for regional routes. And overall, system-wide, which includes our fixed route, our van pool services, and our paratransit services, Lyft, our system-wide boarding per revenue hour is 11.7. And we looked at the ridership gain, which among all the routes, and the highest ridership gain in this 3 months period was Route 21, which is about 4,641. And some other honorable mentions, like they have also gained substantial ridership in that time frame, includes Route 7, 16, and 19. And we also looked at on-time performance-wise, and Route 12. has the highest on-time performance, about 94.2%. And some other honorable mention is Route 4 and 17 and 27. And we also looked at the productivity-wise. The most productive route is Route 19, and we're measuring productivity by total ridership by revenue hours, which has 22.4 rides per revenue hour, and that connects Kaiser to here in downtown. I use that sometimes. And some honorable mentions include Route 4, Route 16, and Route 21. And this time I tried to provide like the best overall performing route in this time frame, and considering all those three factors: ridership gain, best on-time performance, and most productive. And Route 3, considering all those variables, seems like the best overall performing route. And which has on-time performance about 89.6%, and our agency target is 85% or above, so which exceeded that target. And also rides per revenue hour is 20.7, which also exceeded our target of 20, and ridership gain of 10%, a little over 10%. So considering all those factors, and Route 3 looks like that's the champion in this time frame. So we'll be doing the similar thing in the next quarter. And one of the variables to measure the health of our system is on-time performance. And we brought a technology platform last year, Swiftly, and with that we had the ability to track down by route and overall system overall on-time performance. And you may see like overall progress that we have seen here, like starting from 81.7% on-time performance in FY25 Q1, and we have made some progress to 85.2%. So and it's a team effort from planning and participation from transportation team, because they helped us to reduce the early departure issues. And this is always on. It's always. I mean, it has to be on a regular basis. We need to send those reminders to our operators. It's going to be an ongoing progress, and hopefully we can reduce those early close to zero, if that makes sense. And then the snapshot of Youth Zero Pass program. And we have started the implementation of the ID verification back in October. And since then, we have seen some decline in the youth ridership, but not significant, because this is still about 30% of the total ridership. Because of this, we have now ability to track how many youth ridership that we have, and some other implication when it comes to e-fare. So I'm going to share this in detail in the upcoming slide. But overall ridership is still healthy, I would say, but now we have the true numbers. Previously, without the UMO adoption and this implementation and enforcement, we never had a chance to really get the true numbers of the youth ridership. The Lyft service, which is our paratransit service, most of the numbers is where it should be. The complaints per 1,000 trips is 0.73. The goal is less than 2. And ADA complaints less than, it should be 0, and it is 0. And overall, we have provided a little over 25,000 trips, which is 4% higher than compared to the same time frame last year. And year-to-date trips is 77,784. And most of the, 2/3 of the rides are shared, meaning that more than one people riding those vehicles at any given point of time. And we have pretty healthy customer satisfaction, about 4.8 star out of 5. And then this is also a new information that we have added this time around to get understanding of our marketing effort. You have seen a lot of stuff that our marketing team doing. I'd like to add some of those information, and we will be adding more stuff in the upcoming reports. One of the things is like e-fare trip percentage, and the red one is FY24, the same time frame, and the blue one is FY25. We have seen significant increase, 180%, and so that 42% is the number of trips in e-fare platform, which is our UMO platform, and the rest of those are people using non-e fare platform, let's put it this way. And we're not going to see that 180% every other quarter, because this jump compared to the last year is because of this. Last year in fall, we have implemented that UMO adoption with the school districts. So that helped us to jump this number really high. So, but still, I think about half of those riders is using, or the trips are in e-fare platforms, which is really good. And this is important for us as an agency. So more information we have from those online platforms, better we can plan, meaning that we have more data. So that more data we have, better will be our planning and our services. So this is actually a good thing, and it's not easy. And I would like to share that some marketing efforts, like number of posts they have done in the month of January, February, and March, and then total engagement on the social media platform. I appreciate what they do and getting this result for us. The van pool service is, and I'd like to start this with Oregon Business Magazine. They have highlighted our program back in this quarter. I forgot the exact date. The subsidy that we provide to Ferris Lumber and Meduri Farms, I mean, they highlighted those two cases, and also our program as well in general. This is so far very successful. I don't see any. We're actually competing with us. There is no such program better than us in the state of Oregon. At this point, our occupancy rate is a little higher than our average, so it is 68%. So 68% of the seats are occupied, so which is pretty good, and we're constantly trying to improve it, and our goal is to potentially get it in 70 or 75%. But we're making some progress. But overall, year to date is 66%, but we have made 3% increase or growth this time period. Subsidy is 37% of the total expenses, and by contract, we're not supposed to be above 50%, so we're still well below the threshold. But we're providing a really true value to the community, and especially the van pool services are really playing a pivotal role in the areas where fixed route is not a viable option, mostly in the rural areas where we don't have any fixed route, and it's not financially feasible to provide fixed route in those areas. So this program is augmenting our other services and playing really important role in our community. Some safety and reliability trends, most of those are on track, local and regional, less than 2 per 100 miles. But in the lift services, this is maybe after a while, we have just a little over 2. So we had 3 incidents in this time frame, and pretty much all 3 cases, those were new drivers, and they have gone through necessary training, and our vendor MTM have completed those training with those vendors, and now we have a system to look at what they have done wrong, and then MTM basically went through all those things and they make sure that they have those additional training and ensure that it's not, and hopefully it's not going to happen. But this is the only thing that I'd like to highlight here, but everything else is pretty much on track. And road call per 10K miles traveled, local regional lift, pretty much everything is below our threshold. And another KPI that we track from the safety side, which is preventive maintenance, inspection, on-time performance. 100% is the target for most of the local. We're on track, and also the lift and shop and ride services. The battery electric bus, we have started the project, and we have 10 buses. But it's a new journey, and comes with a lot of learning opportunity as well. So far, when it comes to the fleet availability, we're in the late 50s percentage-wise. I mean, between 5 to 6 vehicles are available. And when it comes to the range, we're getting about 130 miles-ish. And again, this is just a snapshot. And we need to wait at least 12 months to see the actual true number, and we're still in the very early phase when it comes to getting a true understanding of our BEVs. But a couple of things environmentally, greenhouse gas reduction, I mean, which is always good, and 21%, 21,000 pounds, a little over 21,000 pounds greenhouse gas was reduced in that time frame, which means we have car trips avoided about a little over 2,000 because we have operated the BEV in that time frame. Although we have as I said, we have some learning opportunities with our inductive charging that we have KTC, so we're learning as we're operating. So I think there are more to come in the upcoming board work session probably, and we'll be happy to provide more in-depth analysis and sharing the insights for the BEVs. And in the upcoming, looking ahead for annual report, we will probably try to include some financial data. We have started gathering those information. We're doing some QA/QC at this point, and also getting some other energy-related KPIs as well. And one of the things that I'd like to close this with is like Swift Fleet pilot that we did for 1 year. I mean, because of those things, we also have the ability to improve our staffing ability and capacity. And let's say, for example, in January service change, we were able to make 4 route changes. And in May service change, we were able to make 6 route changes. Historically, we'll never be able to do more than 1 route because it takes a lot of data. If you do this manually, it takes a lot of information to pull together from so many different sources. So having the right tool and right technology is always helpful, and we can make true impact, not only just increasing the efficiency, staffing efficiency, but also when it comes to improving the performance and overall cost saving for us as well. So now we have the CADIVL system up and running, so we will be able to continue this kind of analysis, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, we can continue to do a good job on those kind of things in upcoming service change. With that, I think I'll take any question you may have.
Alrighty. Any questions from folks? Director Davidson?
Thank you for the report. Just, I believe, one question from me, though I reserve the right to change that answer. When will the real-time tracking return to the other apps, not the Track My Bus app or the text?
My Stop app. Okay. Yeah, I think we're working on it by the end of this month. We're hoping to generate the new GTFS feed, so hopefully early June, we're hoping that it will be available in every other platform. But we're fine-tuning some of those issues at this point with the new GTFS feed.
Great, thank you.
Director Laura Metcalf?
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation. 2 questions. One is, you mentioned a board work session about inductive charging and the BEVs. Do you know when that'll be?
I think that will be scheduled sometime in June or July.
I think it's July.
July.
We're doing fairs in June.
Yeah.
I think I understood. I don't think it was you, Alan, I mentioned this, but I think I mentioned earlier that the 3 of us were at an AFTA conference, and someone mentioned that the manufacturer for that has gone defunct, and other issues that are potentially down the line for the inductive charging. Is that accurate?
The manufacturer.
The people that Gillig contracts with, the company is no longer solvent, or?
No, it's still solvent.
Still solvent.
Yeah, we're just having some issues with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
that's the work session. We'll get into
yeah,
that.
I just underscoring the urgency. I'd love to have that conversation sooner rather than later. So thank you for that.
I think it'll be August.
August.
Okay. And my second question was, talk to me about, as subject matter experts, what conversations y'all have internally when a coverage route outperforms a corridor route. What happens? Do you consistently, like if you were to, do you start having conversations around frequency, or is it just, okay, well, if it goes every hour, we keep it there and it keeps performing really well, or is there is that an indication of demand for you in such that you think, oh, we should up it to every half an hour? What conversations do you have?
Sure. That's a great question, Director Laura Metcalf. And this is going to be a core part of our comprehensive operations analysis. We have certain standard and certain goals, and we are re-evaluating what should be the target for those access roads and coverage routes and also the corridor routes. And we are evaluating at what point we should even convert those coverage routes to corridor routes, if that makes sense. And what are the criteria that we should consider? Is that just based on the productivity or something else? And at what point we should consider maybe potentially merging routes or potentially eliminating or replacing routes with potential microtransit and other options. So all of those things are in the mix at this point, and we're going to be touching base on our service guidelines. We have a service guidelines to answer that question, and we're also reviewing that as part of the COA, and potentially we'll make some updates and changes so that we can come up with a systematic process that will guide to answer those questions, like should we have this or should we reclassify them, at what point we should reclassify them, and what variables we should consider. Is that based on solely this or solely ridership or something else, and what are the success criteria for each one of those routes? I mean, yeah, so all of those, we're re-evaluating all of those, and I think I'll be able to speak and provide you the answer based on the findings that we're doing, because as part of the COA, we're also doing demand analysis to understand which areas have demand and why, and how our service areas, service routes are aligned to meet those demands. And that demand analysis will help us to reshape or potentially redesign, if necessary, in certain areas, because we need to know how people move and how our services are right now. And based on those, we'll be able to make some adjustments to those routes, and that will help us to boost ridership, potentially low-performing route that is currently right now. Maybe we just need to make some minor tweaks and changes here and there to get where people live or work or where the demand is, so if that makes sense. So, and we have another technology platform that is part of the COA. They're going to be doing those analyses and collecting the cell phone data and gathering all the census tract data, and they're going to incorporate our EU more data. So all of this, combining all of those things, so they're going to figure out how people ride and when they ride and where they'd like to go and where we have the gap and how we can meet those gaps, if that answers your question.
Thank you. And would you remind us, for our benefit, when you anticipate that being concluded, that process being concluded?
As I said, I think COA will be complete sometime in March of next year.
And just for the record, Route 16 is knocking out of the park again this quarter. It's nearly at 20, and it's doing really well, as you think of that analysis.
Yeah, and West Salem has a lot of potential with other modes, not just fixed route, and we're evaluating those as part of this and some other studies that are ongoing right now, how we can improve accessibility to our system, not only just to the fixed route, but also other opportunities, including microtransit and others.
Couldn't agree more.
Dr. Davidson?
Thank you, President. I just wanted to admire my colleague's ability to very eloquently ask for greater frequency on his own route. I won't be able to match that, but route number 4, I saw it honorable mention a lot of times there in your presentation. Just want to put that. Okay.
Gotta move them to next week.
Director Duncan, would you like to tout your route at all?
Yeah, I'd say that the routes that maybe have less ridership, maybe it's because they need attention. So, excuse you. Ride 6 is just as important.
Director Holmstrom, any questions, comments? Would you like to tout your route at all?
21, great as usual. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right. Now, this brings us to our next report, and hopefully we'll get to hear what Ian was saying. Dun, dun, dun. General Manager Pollack.
Yes, thank you. If our Chief Financial Officer, LaRue, please come forward and make the presentation.
The It's just subtle foreshadowing.
Good evening, President Hinojos Pressey and members of the board. In your packet, beginning on page 64, you will find the Quarter 3 financial report memo and the financials by division. We're going to move on to page 69, which will summarize all of the information. And we're going to start with the audits of general health. There were no audits completed within the third quarter, but there was a lot of audit work that was happening in third quarter. They were completed in fourth quarter. And so we'll talk about most of those next time. But that included work for the CFA audit, which is the federal awards in detail, the stiff agreed upon procedure reviews for ODOT for FY23 and 24, work for the triennial that is coming up here in just a couple of weeks for the on-site review. But the really exciting one that we're all happy to talk about is the ODOT compliance review. And that happens every 3 years or so. And by or so, things slowed down during COVID, so it had been a while since we had one. A lot of the ODOT compliance review is based around STIF, but not all of it. And it's a review of the entire district, so there's a lot of divisions and a lot of departments that are involved. It includes gathering data, a data request prior, sending it in, responding to questions as through the process, back and forth, and then an on-site review. And this was supposed to be a full-day review. As it turned out, it was a pretty basic 3 hours with a break, and they came back to give us our exit conference, which turned out to be 5 minutes. And we were, what they told us, we don't have our official letter yet, but we were the first district in the state of Oregon ever to not have any findings. So it was great work by everyone in the district, and it was really very exciting, and it happened to be on a day that we had another meeting, so Director Davidson sort of got a sneak peek of that because we were all very excited.
It's okay. They know I'm special.
Well, now we know not to tell Director Davidson sneak peek information because they can't keep a secret.
It wasn't a secret.
Well, you were trying to steal Chief LaRue's thunder.
Yes, it was a very exciting day. So moving on, the GFO Excellence in Financial Reporting Award has moved into the review phase, so we don't have a response on that yet, but it is in the review status as of the end of March 31st, and so hopefully we'll be hearing in the next month or two about that one. And then on page 70, we'll start to actually talk about our finances. Fiscal year to date through the end of third quarter, March 31st, 2025. The general fund revenues are currently at 72% of the annual budget, with an additional $2.2 million that was drawn down in the beginning of the fourth quarter. We never can draw those down until after the end of the quarter, but had we been able to draw that down in third quarter, our revenues would be over budget by approximately $1 million, bringing us to 77.4% of the year-to-date budget. So keep in mind, we're 3/4 of the way through the year, so 75% is really our target. So we are right on target for our general fund revenues. The general fund expenses are currently at 68% of the annual budget, with the divisions ranging between 50 and 77% of the budget. So we will really be closely monitoring those expenses before the next board meeting to make sure that we don't need to have a budget amendment. I don't anticipate that we will. The division that was over budget at the end of March is the General Administration Division, which is a lot of benefits and very static costs. But We do have some very heavy expenses at the end of third quarter, and that usually smooths out in the fourth quarter. So I anticipate we'll be good, but we will be watching it in case we need to do that last-minute budget amendment. For the Transportation Programs Fund revenues, we are at 47% year-to-date of budgeted revenues, but in fourth quarter, we've had a drawdown of $2.3 million processed. That was for expenses for the first 3 quarters of the year. So had we had those drawdowns in third quarter, we would be at 70%. So tracking very well. And the expenses for that division are at for that fund are at 53%, with all the divisions in line with budget. So we don't anticipate any challenge there for the year-end process. The capital fund revenues are currently at 3% of the annual budget, and expenses are at 5%. As you will recall, especially from our budget meeting earlier in the month, that there are some very large projects that are carrying over to next year, which include some large bus purchases and a land purchase. So it's right where we expect this to be. The majority of the expenses for third quarter that we had for the capital program, the capital fund, is for the intelligent transportation system, the vehicle hoist replacements, and the transit signal priority project. And moving on to the budget usage for the FY25 strategic plan through March 31st, we've spent approximately $61,000 year-to-date to share the Cherriots story. We have spent just over $1 million year-to-date on the Cherriots Intelligent Transportation System implementation. We've begun the comprehensive operational analysis, but we had not received any invoices by the end of March, so there were no costs incurred for that yet. We had spent $42,000 on improving the safety and security at Del Webb Gate and Fence Project, and $24,000 for the long-range financial plan. Are there any questions that I may answer?
No question. Do you want to make a comment? Just for the record, I did receive a text as soon as the ODOT review was completed. So, who's special now?
I guess you are.
Any questions or comments? We're very competitive today, for some reason.
Well, and for all the audits that we go through, we're very competitive also. So there was a lot of cheering going on.
We're just helping drive that spirit. No other comments? No questions? Well, excellent work as always, Chief LaRue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us to...
I did have a question.
Oh, now you have a question? No,
I'm
she's
sorry, very
leaving.
quickly. Would you mind qualifying, just for the record, you said no district had ever in the history of the audit had no findings. How long is that history? How long is that history?
I don't know. General Manager Paul?
I don't know, but I can tell you, so our ODOT representative said she'd been here since 2010. So since at least 2010.
Great. I just, yeah.
They were equally as excited as we were. It was.
No, it's a wonderful feat.
It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
Congratulations, everybody. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So before anyone changes their mind, now we'll move on to the general manager report.
Great, thank you very much. So, last evening, several of us returned from the APTA Legislative Conference. I'd like to hold my remarks on the conference and let our board members speak to it, and then maybe I'll add anything after that. I did want to do one follow-up from Chief LaRue on the ODOT compliance review. So in your comments, I don't want anyone to misunderstand when she talked about they were here for 3 hours. The audit was much more than 3 hours. There's a whole series of documents and data that we provide ahead of time that they review. And that was really, the onsite is really a chance for them to clarify any questions. So it was pretty thorough and exhaustive review. So I just want anyone who may be listening to think it was 3 hours and done. It was it's pretty intense. And then next month, we have the triennial review, which is kind of the next notch up, and that's the federal audit from the Federal Transit Administration. So I would like to thank Chief LaRue and her team and all the folks that were involved in this. It's a big part of Chief Ula Zoom's STIF program. So I'm very proud to have that distinction of no findings, no deficiencies. So job well done for the whole team. So thank you. This weekend is a holiday, and we will be running service on the holiday. So as part of our statewide Transportation Improvement Fund enhancements, we now provide service on all holidays except for Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving. And speaking of the statewide Transportation Improvement Fund, we are waiting for the Joint Committee on Transportation to announce their series of public hearings on the proposed transportation bill. It has not come out yet. If you recall from previous reports, there is a framework, but we are expecting a bill maybe tomorrow to come out with any revisions. After that, there will be a series of public hearings, one on highways and bridges, one on transit, and one on ped and bicycle programs. And so I'm expecting that to be the first week of June. I don't think they'll be able to, since today is Thursday, schedule meetings next week. Normally, the Joint Committee on Transportation has their hearings on Mondays and Tuesday evenings, but that committee has sunsetted as part of the legislative session. But they did establish a special committee on the Joint Committee on Transportation on the transportation package, which is comprised of the same members of the Joint Committee on Transportation. So once we know when that hearing is, we are part of the testimony team for the Oregon Transit Association, as well as our own district testimony, as well as rider testimony. And then my last item, so as a reminder, next Thursday, May 29th, is our Employee Appreciation Day celebration. It's from 11:30 to 2. It will be at our Del Webb Maintenance Facility. So if your calendars allow, we'd love to see you there and help us recognize all the employees who do great work for Cherriots on behalf of the Salem, Kaiser, and Greater Mid-Valley community. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I'll get started with Director Holmstrom to see if there's anything that he'd like to report.
No report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Duncan, anything to report?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to MWAC this month, but I do have a report from the DEI committee. So we continue to talk about our bus wrap initiative, specifically a bit of a timeline revamp, and I just really want to give a shout out to all the staff who've been working very hard to take this program that kind of started out as a suggestion and then became this whole big thing into a formalized process that is enshrined with proper procedure, and there's a lot of work that went into that you guys don't see here, and so just thank you very, very much for all of that. So we the timeline was reverse engineered from the district, from our target launch date to the project kickoff, and the idea was that we wanted to be able to tie together more of the different departments and make sure that everybody was being heard and their time respected. So thank you for all of that. I'm very excited, and I think that going forward it's going to be a bit more organized internally, and I think that the public will see that in the finished product as well, and the way that we celebrate and talk about the things that we're doing. We also talked about improving language accessibility, which has been a big topic for directors Laura McKiff and host Pressy, because we wanted something that was a bit more natural sounding. And so I think that we have gotten to a much closer place, and you should see rollout soon.
At the end of the month.
At the end of the month. So really excited about that. And thank you for the time and effort also on the behalf of the staff that went into making those updates. So yeah, can't wait to hear from the community how they feel about it. And that concludes my remarks.
Wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, the whole timeline revamp and procedures and policies. I guess we learned that 2 directors can't just do whatever they want without writing down some processes. Director Davidson?
Thank you, Madam President. This month, I had the opportunity to attend several council of government meetings, including the budget committee, which I serve on with Deputy General Manager David Trimble. Not a whole lot to report out that's relevant to this board, but I do want to acknowledge that the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments is quite exposed to the whims of the federal government right now. They, more than other local governments, receive a significant portion of their budget from the federal government. And as a result, in the coming months, the Council of Governments will be considering a alteration to the membership dues as well as the rates for service. And so we are obviously a member of that organization, and we from time to time do utilize their services. This is something that I have advocated at both the board and then at the budget committee this week to shore up the Council of Governments and to prepare us for a possible eventuality where the federal government decides to yank out the rug out from under these very valuable and important and meaningful programs for the Mid-Valley. So as I know more details, I'll be sure to pass that along, but that concludes my report. Oh, actually, no, lastly, I have been able to attend several Bike Month events, which I just want to say to Kiki and everybody on the transportation options, communications, marketing team, very well done. Wearing a different hat of mine, I've had the opportunity to partner with them on a couple of the events, and they've been very well attended. It's great to see the community get out in support of this. I know just earlier today, there was a multimodal rodeo, I believe is what they were calling it, and heard that there were 20 kids on bikes running around or riding around on the North Block just before this meeting. So wonderful to see Cherriots out in the community creating those community connections to a population that is important to our ridership. Our first mile, last mile are dependent on people who walk and bike. So kudos to everyone involved.
Thank you very much. Director Laura Midkiff.
Thank you. We can probably share the APTA updates. I don't know what you wanted to share.
You go ahead.
But so, as I mentioned maybe 2 or 3 times, the 3 of us went back to DC on Saturday. Got back last night. It was part conference, part speaking with our federal delegation about priorities for the district. I thought it went well. The big takeaway, I think, for me from the conference was just how outstanding we are as an agency. Or you get questions like, so how's your financial cliff? And I'm like, well, actually, we're doing okay. And ridership's really struggling. And we're better than we've been in over a decade. And are you hosting the Olympics? No. So it's just a lot of those.
Or the World Cup.
Or the World Cup, and. I got to meet other transit directors from across the country, and just very grateful for the excellence of this agency and its leadership and my colleagues, and for all the foibles of the politics of the Mid-Valley. We have it really good here, and our delegation is excellent, and we're just very, very lucky. And so that was for me the big takeaway. And then I won't speak for the legislators, but I thought our presence was well received and welcome, and had productive conversations with not just our own immediate representatives, but a couple of them outside of our area, and had a very productive time. So thank you for Cherriots for facilitating that, and you especially, Kira, and Alan for tolerating our company. So.
Yeah, I think just to dovetail off of Director Laura Midkiff's comments, I think we had a really great time, as much as one can have in DC. But we were able to meet with almost everyone in our federal delegation. We had a chance to chat with staff from Congresswoman Hoyle's office, since she's on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. Had the chance to talk with staff or with both of our senators, and actually had a chance to meet with Merkley again and take another picture. it was a really good time. And yeah, I think I think that the reason that we're so punchy this evening is just because we got in a little late last night, and by the grace of, I think it's just an indicative of how patient of a man General Manager Pollock is, because he had to put up with both myself and Laura Midkiff. So I don't think I really have a lot to add. Do you want to add anything for the APTA Leadership Conference?
I'll add a couple of comments. I concur with both of you. I think it was a very fruitful and productive time. We did get to meet with our delegation, and the important part of that is we advocated on behalf of our federal legislative agenda, which you all adopted a couple of months ago, and really did some deep dives into our projects that we're currently applying for grants and CDSs for, as well as some of the policy positions we had. And speaking of the grants, I failed to mention earlier, one bit of good news, because there's lots of turmoil in DC, is that the Department of Transportation did issue the bus and bus facility grant projects, and there is $1.5 billion available. Of course, we expect there to be closer to $9 billion worth of ask, because it's annually it's an oversubscribed program, but we believe we have really strong projects, and our staff is preparing those applications as we speak. And at the conference, part of it is getting to meet our peers, and both board members did get a chance to meet with other board members and really see how things are alike and different in other organizations. We did
Shout out Lane Transit District.
Yeah, we did have a series of speakers, from the Secretary of Transportation to the acting FTA administrator. Senator Warren was there, as well as the chair of the T&I committee, Representative Graves, and the ranking member of T&I, Representative Larson. We even had some media pundits there. Chuck Todd and Scott Jennings gave their perspectives, and others. One of the key ones is also the staff members of the T&I committee and getting their perspective. So all in all, it was a great visit. Some long days, but it was great to spend some time with both of you, and enjoyed it. And it was good to work with our DC legislative advocates, who do a great job when we're not there advocating on our behalf. And so I think job well done. So thank you.
Okay, and with that, it is now 7:57, and I conclude this meeting.